story says that it is only his descendants that came with him. He could have also felt an immense pressure to build this giant boat, as Nancy said, the likes of which and construction methods to build it don't exist for millennia. Noah could and should have been scared and sad. Based on the way that this story in Genesis is written, we can assume that the judgment of the earth and humanity that we were facing at the time was one based on morality compared to any other reason. You see, there are many stories that mirror this one in various ancient civilizations and texts throughout history. The Gilgamesh epic, for one. There are stories that mirror this one in Babylonian history, too, and the histories of other civilizations that indicate that the flood occurred because humanity and the earth was overpopulated, and we were too noisy. The gods couldn't handle that. Yes, this story is not unique to our Bible and is in fact reflected in many civilizations, but the way that the writer of Genesis presents it is different. The deciding factor is morality, this ultimate corruption of what God has created based on reasons that aren't immediately clear. It is not a problem that can be met with a simple solution, needless to say. And in either case, the morality of the rest of existence cannot be changed by only one man. But we can change ourselves, and we can choose how we react to the situation of which we have been dealt. We can choose in the face of challenge to do all that the Lord commands of us. We can choose to put away our feelings just for a season, not forever, just for a season, in order to carry out what is necessary, what we have heard and interpreted as a commandment from God. We can choose to put away our feelings of uncomfortability in a wetsuit that smells like BO in order to get some modicum of enjoyment out of an experience that would otherwise suggest danger and certain death. The story of Noah is one that is chock full of choice. The choice of God to destroy their creation, the choice of Noah to follow even though he had no structural engineering experience, the choice by God for Noah to complete this task because he was the only one righteous. He was seen and chosen for being someone who was just generally good. He was also blameless, a term that implies being complete and whole, as though he was a little perfect tomato in King Soopers, just perfect on the shelf, perfectly smooth and red and round. He was also seen for his constant walk with God, something that up until this point in the Bible was said only about his ancestor Enoch, the only one taken into heaven. The early Bible is weird. But we must remember where we are in the Bible, friends. We're real early on. We are before the Ten Commandments, before Deuteronomy, before Leviticus, before the laws, before the new covenant created in Jesus. Friends, the only commandments for creation at this point in the Bible are to be fruitful and multiply, to take care of creation, don't murder, and don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. As we know, though, humanity knew what was good and evil and chose to do what was considered evil. Humanity chose, except for Noah. Noah chose instead to do what was good, to do what the Lord commanded of him. And so, beloved, what does the Lord command of you today? What does the Lord require of us? The Lord has told you and requires you to do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. The Lord has given us these three simple instructions, instructions that carry us through to the new covenant and through today. In essence, type 2 fun. Doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly may not be fun in the moment because it takes incredible patience, incredible strength, and incredible faith. But in the end, a life that has been spent doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly with our God is a life that has been spent in a way that returns life back to us and gives it away so that others might just get a taste. It is a life of obedience to the path that will be the ark to get us through the flood and to get us back to life. First Baptist, we do Micah 6:8, and we do it well. We have proven time and time again that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is more significant than maintaining a building and filling its pews. We have shown our larger community what it means to take advantage of the resources that we have and that we have been careful stewards of in a way that gives others life with reckless abandon. We have proven that there is more that we can do together, and that the way to do it is to bring others into partnership for the sake of a larger mission. We have proven that one can build an ark in today's world not of the finest cypress, but of grace, of peace, and love, and maybe some bricks and mortar to keep it dry. We have built an ark not of this building, but of our spirit, our mission, and our zeal. We have built an ark exactly to the specifications that God has given us and to the specifications that our community requires. We have built a community that is capable of calming the waters, taking care of creation, and of being a lighthouse to the rest of the world that shows that life can persist in the middle of waters that rise and the fires that burn. We've done it. The decision we are left with then, friends, is to stay on this ark or to leave it. The flood may not have been a literal story, but the proverbial waters that are rising around us in this very moment, are they not? We have all that we need provided by God and provided by the work we've already put in. Do you stay on or do you bail? My prayer is that you stay on the ark. My prayer is that you recognize what I felt in the very moment that picture on our bulletin was taken, that this kind of sucks, but it's better than being swept away against the rocks and the certain doom that lies ahead, lest that waver be fulfilled. My prayer is that you recognize the work we are doing and the work we have yet to put in is the kind of type 2 fun that we as Coloradans so desperately crave. We have the hope, we have the love, we have the patience, we have the grace. We have it. And so the only thing left to do is to ride these waves with confidence for the next 40 days and 40 nights, a long time. But there will be our harvest. May it be so. Amen. Please stand as you are able and join us in singing our final hymn this morning, number 634, We Walk by Faith.
Just Amen. Be seated. It is time to gather around our table. And even before I get into it this week, I want to invite you to begin imagining your place at the welcome table. We'll ask the church pastoral team to come forward, please, to join me in service along with our young people. Please, thank you. And Sydney, will you come and serve with us, please? Thank you. You all are pros now. Find your places. This way, that way. There you go. There you go. The time clock on my job is running real fast. They're going to take over soon. That's good. It was on the night that Jesus was to be betrayed that he and many others, including the disciples, were gathered in the upper room in what I like to describe as a busy place, a hectic place, a place that included more, I do believe, than those documented in the book. I believe there were women and there inevitably a few young people, mice and cats and flies and moths and everything. It was a human place. It was a human experience. It was a meal of great importance that we really come to remember today. And at that time, Jesus took the bread after getting their attention. He said, pass that to me. Pass that, before we go, pass that bread up here to me. And he looked amongst those gathered, including the one who would betray him. And he said something like this: this is my body that will be broken for you. This is representative of me that will be sacrificed for you. And he gave thanks for it. And then after a little while, he called for the cup. Now, it is believed there was a good cup around, not that McDonald's cup that you've had since the 70s. There was a special one. There usually was somewhere in the place. And I can just imagine, because they didn't have a lot of running water then, if any, unless you're at the river, someone had to take a rag and wipe out in the middle of the goblet so that a little wine could be poured into it. Calling their attention again, of course giving thanks, he said, this is my blood that will be shed for you for the remission of your sin. It is a sign of a new covenant, a new agreement, a new way of being. Every time you get together, you have a little taste, as my grandmother says. Do that in remembrance of me. The remembrance of Jesus, of course, is to love. We gather here not just because it's something to do on Sunday and not just because we have good dishes to share and we've even got better, but in our busy coming and going, in our importance, in our ceremony and ritual, in our preaching and teaching, it's still important to share a little meal every now and again and to come together as one, even in our own way, and partake of the elements and define our place here. So not only a journey of faith, but a journey of practice. And so as we get ready to come together, and we'll ask Kurt to give a prayer of thanksgiving, I want you to have this moment now, but I also invite you again in the course of your week, before we come back together, as you're having a meal with whomever you might encounter in your own way, commune together and say some words that invite whoever you're with to remember the importance of loving one another in your own way. You may choose to serve yourself communion. You can do that. Or you might just say, hey, before we continue, I want to remind you of the magic of love that we have as friends. That's what God has called us to do. Will you pray?
Pray with me, friends. God of peace, grace, love, justice, mercy, all of the things, be with us here in this moment and bless this table once again to be energy for our bodies, energy to love, energy to do the work you have called us to. Bring us once again all to this ark, this table. Help us to bring our friends to this table and help them to know what true faith truly is. It is love, it is grace, it is peace. Bestow all of these things upon us again and be with us. Meet us here at this table. God of all. Amen.
Thank you. As you prepare to come forward and line up in the center aisle, we do this not because we are plagued by sin, but because we're chased by grace. Not because we're worthy, but because indeed we are unworthy. We're all able to share love. We're all able to spread love. You are the light of the world. Won't you come now and line up in the center aisle, take and receive your communion here, leave your cups, and then return back to your seats.
Sit at the welcome table, oh Lord, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table, and we'll break bread together on our knees. I'm gonna feast on the bread of heaven, oh Lord. I'm gonna feast on the bread of heaven one of these days, hallelujah. I'm gonna feast on the bread of heaven. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days.
And amen. God bless you.
Amen and amen. As the service concludes, as the worship concludes, rather, and as the service begins, we come now to the conclusion. We are invited, as always, to leave our offerings here in the offering plate at the front of the sanctuary or in the back, or as always, online if you prefer, rethinkbaptist.org. As always, please join us for our reception following the postlude. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, this is so very important. We want to see your face. We want to give you food. We want to shake your hand. And so please join us in the parlor following the service today. And thank you to Marlene for providing our reception today. Appreciate you. And so, as the worship concludes and the service begins, I offer us this blessing. Then the Lord said to us, "Go into the world, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you the whole of my creation, all of the people from each of the ends of the earth and from each end of the spectrum I have created, the person and their partner, to keep their kind alive on the earth. For in a short time I will send upon you rain for 40 days and 40 nights, a rain that would seem to be unceasing. May we do all that the Lord commands of us. Amen."
Just to make a minor note, Kenny came to me earlier today and told me that he had an even cooler piece that he wanted to play. So this is actually Toccata in E minor by Pachelbel.